Excuse me. Okay, next we are going on to the next topic, setting up. So for setting up, we are going to be creating some or registering new customer, a new supplier, and two different items. Going to be one for which we are buying and one which we are selling. Okay, so we will be fully involved inside the setup activity. So business partner here. So if let's say we have a new customer, we are going to need to register them inside the system here so that we can select them conveniently when we are creating a document entry to issue to them or documenting a document that has been issued by them, whether they are a supplier or a customer. So over here we have to enter a code. This code here you can follow your company's format. The name you put your business partner's name. So in this case it is everyday customer. Put in their UEN. UEN is especially important if you intend to send them a PayPal e-invoice. Okay, then now for the address side. This one for the most part I won't be reading out because it's quite, we're going to enter 3 addresses. Everything here is self-explanatory with the exception of address code and address name. So code is a bit special because it's noteworthy because the keyword here is code so code has to be unique. Okay, so this address code, because each of these lines here, right, these rows here is one address registered on this business partner. So therefore, each of them must have a unique code as the system requires. However, this code it only needs to be unique on within this table. So for another customer that I'm creating, the address code can also be 123, 123, 123. It doesn't matter. This code just needs to be unique within this table itself. Okay. So the code usually is not that important. I just put 123 because code is mainly for system. If there's a code and then there's a name accompanying it, the code is something that is for system to differentiate. The name is something that is for users to identify at a glance. Okay. So let's say there are 3 addresses for this company. They are the office address, the retail address, and the warehouse address. Okay. So the code I don't have to understand them because when I'm selecting the address at time, at the selection list, the system will show me both the code and the name, and I can just go by the name. Okay. So now I'm going to key in all the address names. Sorry, the address and details. Line 123, attention to who, the contact number, and the fax number.
Sorry, hello.
Hello, yes.
For this attention one, is it a compulsory to add in one?
No, actually, none of these fields are compulsory, with the exception of code. That means if you have anything in for this row, each row, you have anything inside here, you need to have a code accompanying it. The rest are not compulsory. That means you can have just one address name without any of this. You can have just the attention without any of the other details. It's fine. Yeah.
Means attention there, for example, in the DO, we can add in manually.
No, you cannot add in manually. So when you're
Then how?
selecting an address, right? And all the details of the address code will be displayed on your document printout. Yeah.
Oh, but if I got one company got many customer attention, different uh, uh DO, so how?
Mm. That means multiple or like each DO may have a different attention.
Ah,
Okay, in that case, one solution I guess is when you are creating a document, let's say the DO. Okay, let me finish this example and then I show you.
okay, can.
I create the customer. Okay, so at the bottom here, there's a customer section, there's a vendor section, and there's a PEPAL section. Okay, so if this is a customer, you can completely ignore the vendor section. In order to tell the system this is a customer, right, you have to select the group under this field, under the customer section. And then the rest here are also defaults. So the payment terms, if you have a default agreed upon payment terms with this customer, you can select it as a default. So every time you issue a document to them, the payment terms will already be there without having to select it again manually. There can also be a default tax code. So for every item that you are selling to them, this tax code will be applied by default unless you change it before issuing the document. Address code, you can also put a default. And let's just save it here. Okay, now to show you the example at the DO. Okay, when you select the customer, the address code over here, you can select whichever one that you have your attention to. And when you create the document, you can see the attention is over here. And if you need to change it, right, you can simply use the function I told you guys about just now, the shortcut function to open the module. Right click this business partner, the customer, open. It will bring you to business partner registration where you can edit this customer and then change the attention accordingly. Otherwise, you can create another address code, let's say 4, and just simply put in the attention over here. Let's say this time is Mr. Lee Li Ming or something. Then update. You can go back here, right click, refresh, put address code 4, and the attention will be to this person. So I guess that's the fastest way you can create. Otherwise, perhaps the only other faster way you can do is to have a customized document layout whereby we can add a field over here. Let's say any of these reference field 1 to 5, right? We can allow it to become an entry field. That means you can text input here, and then we display it for you as a attention over here as a separate text box.
I
But
think that one better.
this one can only be done via customization.
Okay.
So customization actually is a chargeable service because we're customizing a whole new layout. So I told you the fastest way is applicable for you now. But if you're interested in customization, just to make the process seamless, then this is a possibility. You can just simply come here, enter the name, let's say, and then I mean I don't have the customization active now, but just to show you how you will enter, you update, and then maybe there's a field over here that displays. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm just going to move on from here. Okay, so now we created the customer. Next, we're going to be creating a vendor or a supplier. Okay, the process is largely the same, just that we're selecting a different group over here. So I'm just going to go through the process quickly without narrating much because it's until the point where it is different. Okay. Okay, this time we're selecting a group under vendor section. So once again, we can apply any defaults we want. Okay. And then, okay, this one is happening quite soon. Okay, this is not something that will happen so soon after you first register a customer, but something that happens usually down the line. That is when one of your customers, you happen to be interested in their products that they are selling, and then you also develop the relationship with that customer, develop to a supplier and also a customer. So you buy from them, they buy from you, but in the system, the registration, right, is only a customer. I think usually for other software, my accounts manager would say, you need to register a supplier entry for them. But for our system, you can use the same registration, but just let the system know that they're also a supplier for you. You're also buying from them. Simply select the group under here, and then any defaults if need be. And with this update, the system now identifies them as both a customer and a supplier. Okay, so that's that. Next, we'll be creating the two new items. So all these things we're setting up right now, right, we'll be using them later on in the accounts receivable exercise. Yeah. So just keep a lookout for that. So here under item details, let's create the first service. So this one is something that we are selling. So SPC 001, once again, follow your company set format. Select the group here. Here, the description should be the item's actual name. But otherwise, it can just be an item description also, up to you. It is sort of like a default also because when you're selecting the item code, right, inside the document, you're selecting this, the description will also be populated. Yeah. So you can see in the way I'm typing right now, right, this is set up in a way that it is not the actual final description, but rather it is the default text that I want to let the system quickly help me to write down every time I create a document entry so that I don't have to retype this portion. And then any portion that is unique to each entry, right, I can simply key in from there, which you will see later. Okay. So UOM stands for unit of measure. That will be attached next to the quantity. So in this one, since it's a delivery service, we're going by trip. We're measuring by trips, and then the quantity decimal is 2. So we can put, let's say, 1.5, 1.54, 1.99, something like that. Cost price, since we are selling this service, we're not buying, so there will not be a default buying price. For selling price, let's say the standard price for this service is $80 per quantity, the unit price. So I put 80. This doesn't mean we cannot change it later. It's just going to put the price as 80 whenever we select this item inside the entry, but we can still change it before we save the document and before we issue it. Okay, next we are creating also another item, but this one is something that we are frequently buying, okay? So that whenever we're creating a supply invoice or purchase order, we can select this item. So this one we'll be using in our AP exercises. The previous one we just created will be AR exercises. Okay, now to touch more on cost price, right? Just think of this as default buying price, just the same as default selling price. Yeah. So this is the price at which the unit price will be entered on your document document entry when you select this item. When you're selecting this item inside AP, yeah, accounts payable. Okay, actually that's all we have for setting up.